Next is gypsum blocks and ceramic blocks. They're there side by side. They work the same way. Here you actually put the block and you bury it in the ground. And you just have two wires coming up out of the ground. So again, you have a point applied reading. It's only for that little area where these things are buried that it's going to work. And you put them at different depths. Same problem, you know, if you want multiple layers sampled, multiple moisture samples at different layers, put one at a foot, one at 2 feet, one at 3 feet, or one at 6 inches, one at 1 foot, one at 1.5 feet, kind of depending on the crop root depth that you have. And you hook up effectively an ohm meter to it. And you read resistance through the block. And it has 2 electrodes in it, separated by a space. And the wetter the block gets, the more electroconductivity there is, and the more current it will transfer between those 2 tips inside that block. So you're basically measuring resistance. The wetter the block gets, the less resistance, the more wetness. And so you calibrate moisture to the electrical resistance in the block. They make them out of gypsum, which is a biodegradable material that over a short period of time they will dissolve. Or you can make them out of this ceramic material that is something you could leave there for years and years and years. And they're accurate. They have to get stabilized. You know, when you make the hole in the ground and pack it back in, you have changed the structure of that soil, and it takes a while for it to stabilize and get back to what we would call the normal profile around it. So you don't put it in there and pack it in with the shovel handle. You try to put it back in just the way it came out as best as you can. And that creates a little bit of confusion for that block until it stabilizes again. So you don't want to read them for the first 2 weeks to 4 weeks. They're not very accurate. But then you leave them in there, and you know, by the 2nd or 3rd month and on until they disintegrate, they're pretty darn good tools to use. And last but not least are the probes. The neutron probe's been around for about 20 years or so, and it simply sends off pulses, and when it hits hydrogen, it bounces those pulses back to the probe itself, and it's counting those repeat pulses that are coming back, the echo coming off of the rays that are being shot out from it. Now, it does have a nuclear point source in it. So you must be certified. You must take a class and get certified to use them. Just like if you're working at the Hanford out there, you got to wear your little badge that's monitoring the amount of radiation that your body's absorbing while you're using it. And you know, they mount them on the back of 4-wheelers and drive them around the fields, and they're in a big lead encasement, and then they just drive over the tube, and what they'll do is they'll either put a PVC or an aluminum tube in the ground. They bore a hole, slide the tube in it, however deep they want to go. And then they'll drive around, and this unit is a round tube about this long and about this tall on a cord. And then they just drop it right down in the tube. They center over the tube and drop it in there. And it emits this radioactive beam, and it deflects back some of them that hit the hydrogen molecules, and that the more that bounce back, the wetter the soil is, because the more H2O there is in the ground. So they're monitoring that return signal. But you know, I always worried about that, straddling that 4-wheeler and having that nuclear device. You got the idea. God damn.
You just do this one because it's more effective reading.
Now, what is the value of one of these probes is that you can put these tubes all over the field. And you only need one measuring device, and you can go in a given tube and you can sample at 6 inches, a foot, 1.5 feet, 2 feet. All you do is every time you want to sample, you hold it in place and click the button, and it's got a little microprocessor with it, and it's recording the data for you. And you can go, you know, one guy could do 40 or 50 sites an hour in a area of a farm if you wanted to, just buzzing from one to the next. You can click those readings out. You can do a tube in 15 seconds, no matter jumping on your buggy and driving to the next one. Get off, do another tube, 15 seconds, you're done there, jump on and go to the next one. And all it's doing is recording the number of hits on the microprocessor that's with this unit. You get back to the lab, you download the microprocessor onto the computer, and it instantly prints out the moisture profile for each of the sites. And every site has its code number. And all you do when you pull up to the site, you punch in the code number on the touchpad and start dropping in at depths, and you punch in at each depth that you want to sample. Just slicker than the dickens. Really, really quick. And very, very accurate, very efficient. And there are people that sell that service that you can order it from different companies in here. All crops. Oh yeah, you bet. Not near as common in turf, but it doesn't work real good real shallow. And in turf, you're only worried about that deep, and that's where it about starts working, because it's sending out in all directions, so a lot of them escape out the surface if you're too shallow with it, so they don't work worth a hoot in the shallow areas. Then there's non-nuclears that work sending out different kind of beams that are being measured on deflection, and those are getting to the point where they're starting to get almost as accurate, if not as accurate, as the neutron probe. It's taken them a number of years to develop them, and they cost a lot more money. But you don't have to be licensed to run it. You don't have to have special permits to even own it. So you have to have a federal permit to own that nuclear probe.
Oh, man.
Well, you got yourself a little miniature potential bomb there, you know. The person with the wrong idea could do something kind of dangerous with that. So, yeah, you have to be pretty careful.